What's going on, collectors? This is Parlay J here with you today. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about 7 different types of collecting baseball cards, or any cards for that matter. I wanted to put together this episode whether you are new to the collecting game, you are very advanced in the collecting game. To me, I kind of try to break things down simply, and it really matters because you have to have a goal in whatever you do. You have to kind of know where your goal is, know how to get there, and know kind of what your limits are. So I start with kind of figuring out what exactly am I doing this for? Because it's different for everybody, and you should kind of take a minute to like self-check and figure out what exactly it is that you're doing this for too. And hey, if you do all of these 7 types of collecting methods, and that's you, that's cool, that's fine. Some people want to focus on one and they want to just laser focus. Others don't. So depending on how you are and who you are, you know, it might all be different to you. But nonetheless, I wanted to take you through 7 different types of collecting that I think there are out in the game so that you can kind of understand a little bit about each one. So number 1, and that is set building. So I am actually building 2 sets. And so for example, this is a bunch of 1956 Topps cards. This is part of my set building collection. And I have a video, which I will put right here, about iteration 1 of my 1955-1956 Top set building collection. So what is set building? So it is basically just what it sounds like. It's you go into it because you want to collect the entire set of all of the baseball cards that are within a particular year and set. So for me, I'm actually going for 2. My first and foremost has been the 1955 Topps set. And you set goals for yourself in that. Now, when you set build, there's a bunch of different ways you can even do that. I happen to kind of peruse eBay over the last couple months while the market is a little bit down on cards, and trying to snap some deals up so I can add on to my set build. And what I found was, you know, a lot of 1956 Topps cards that were out there at a very reasonable price. So I started moving more toward that as opposed to 55. Now there's a couple, like I said, different ways that you can set build. One, you can set build only graded cards, or you can set build with only loose cards, or you can have a combination of the two. So for example, I found some great lots of these graded commons nonetheless cards, and they were from the same seller on eBay. So I was able to get the synergy of buying them together and combining things like shipping and stuff like that. But you got to figure out, what do you want at the end of the day? Do you want all graded cards? Do you want loose cards? Do you not care? If you go graded, do you want them all in a certain range? Do you want only 9s and 10s? You're going to be committing a lot more money to that if that's the case. Are you okay with between 5s and 10s? Or do you just want to go for 1s on everything, get it the cheapest you can, so you get it in this really cool case so that your set is like way more complete than if they were loose? Do you want to set build with graded because, hey, maybe the loose cards are cut or altered or fake, and this is a way to assure that you're not hitting that issue? So lots of different ways to set build, but at the end of the day, the goal is to get every single card that is within a specific set, 1956 Topps in this case, all the numbers from 1 through whatever. And then once you've achieved it, you've got the full set, and hey, you can either just enjoy the fact that you've achieved that goal, or you can, you know, sell it. Now, obviously, you have to take into consideration, again, your budget, because if you were to buy each common card graded, even if in this case it's a PSA 6, you may be spending, you know, 10 to 20 times, possibly even more than that, the price that you would buying them loose. So keep in mind which way you want to go with it, and that will dictate how you set build. But that is number 1. Number 2 is player collecting. So for instance, got my Gleyber Torres collection here. There are people who are just insane fans of certain players. I happen to really be high on Gleyber Torres. I know a couple of other folks that are too, more than a couple. Player collecting really consists of trying to get all or as many of the cards of that player as possible. And they don't all have to be the valuable cards only. There could be some cards that are less desirable or less valuable. Again, though, you want to make the decision, do I want to only collect this player in graded form? Do I want them in loose card form? And that's pretty much going to apply to all of these collecting types that I'm going to talk about. You need to make that choice and where, you know, your budget is going to take you in that quest. But essentially, buying all or as many of the cards of one single player is known as player collecting. So, not everybody loves a great player like Gleyber Torres. Some people like maybe a less desirable player. My favorite player always happened to be Tino Martinez. So I collect his cards. You know, for me, it's a little bit less expensive than Gleyber Torres, obviously. But nonetheless, that is my favorite player. And that is another player that I will player build or player collect with. On to number 3. And that is team collecting. So example right here, this is the 1993 inaugural season set of the Florida Marlins. This was actually given to me by my dad, who was a massive Florida Marlins fan and collected everything under the sun Marlins when they entered into the season, entered into the majors as a team. What's in this box is cards of all of the players that are on that team, in this case, in that particular year. However, team collecting does not have to only cover 1 year. Team collecting can cover the entire team's history from any set for any card. Again, it really all is up to you as the collector. What do you want to focus on? Do you only care about a team from, let's say, their World Series championship year? Do you care about a team for all time? A lot of fans that are, let's say, you know, New York Yankees fans or Houston Astros fans, they maybe were fans of that team forever, and so they have an affinity toward that team. And now I'm especially a fan of this type of collecting from the flipping perspective, because it is one of the best ways to get the most value possible out of your common cards. Now, you have a lot of common cards. I'm sure you do if you buy packs and you open packs. And if you try to flip, it's really, really hard and time consuming to flip cards that are only worth, you know, $1 or less each. Where you really get the synergy is bundling them all up into a specific team and finding those collectors that are a fan of that team. For example, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. I actually purchased a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates cards from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Predominantly, it was mostly commons with a couple of really good cards in there. But those were cards that seller probably would have never sold otherwise. But I enjoy it because I'm a fan of that team, and I might do something like actually put them together in a collage, frame them up, put them in a book or something, grade them and put them all on a shelf together because I'm a fan of that team. Think about a guy who's got a man cave and he throws all of his sports teams memorabilia all around. Well, team sets is exactly one of those things that that guy in the man cave might be interested in putting together. So another form of collecting, team collecting, and that is essentially aggregating all or as many cards as you can of a specific team. All right, now we're going to talk about our 4th different type of collecting, and that is rainbow parallel collecting. What do we mean by that? Notice all these cards, very different colors. We've got a blue, we've got a red, we've got a gold, we've got another gold, all different colors of the rainbow. There's lots of different cards out there that are known as parallels. They're either short prints, they're different photos of the player, they're numbered, or they're colored. And so there's a lot of collectors that they kind of bypass all like the true rookies and they go straight for parallel collecting. And basically what that is they're trying to get the rarest of the rare. This is going to be in tandem with, you know, potentially some of the other types of collecting, but they're going for the most rare cards that have the most value, that are one of these types that are either colored or differentiated somehow from what's known as the base card. So this is definitely something that has a higher cost to it because the parallels for the better players are more expensive. than parallels for, you know, lesser players, and definitely more expensive than base cards themselves. So if you want to do parallel rainbow collecting, it's basically accruing all the different colors of the rainbow for all different types of players. Next, the fifth type of collecting is known as era collecting. So as you see here, these are all known as vintage cards. So I got, you know, Roger Maris, Johnny Bench, we've got Willie Stargell. So this is of more of the vintage era, so the 50s, 60s or so. So what vintage collecting is, or excuse me, what era collecting is trying to capture as many or all, if you can, of the cards from a specific era. And that era could be 10-year span, it could be the 50s, it could be the 60s, it could be the 90s, it could be the 2010s, or it could just be, you know, a 2-year span. It could be you want to get all the cards from 2018 and 2017, let's say. Or maybe you want to invest in all the cards from 2011 through 2013, where there are a lot of solid rookies out there at the time. So that's a pretty cool era to collect for. But essentially, era collecting is just that. It's picking up cards, again, as we've been saying over and over, you make the decision whether you want to grade it or not, from a certain time period. The sixth type of collecting, I will call flip collecting. So you see here that I have a lot of Yordan Alvarez cards and a lot of Christian Yelich cards. Now, flip collecting is typically done with the intention of making a profit. It is buying low and selling high. And what you want to do is you want to chart the life cycle of the prices of all of specific cards that you are looking to flip. And typically, as we say in all of our other videos, the best time to buy is in the off season and in the winter, and the worst time to buy is in the spring and summer months during the season, and especially during the World Series. So flip collecting is purchasing in bulk at times cards that are right now maybe affordable, cheap, whatever you want to call it, that you think will rise in value in a short period of time so that you can sell it and turn a profit. So I am currently very high on Christian Yelich, and I will do a video on why I am very high on Christian Yelich, but that is my flip collecting game at the moment. So that is flip collecting. So the seventh really covers a lot of different types of collecting, but I'm just gonna call it fun collecting. And that might entail doing a lot of box breaks, opening a lot of packs, buying packs, searching them, looking for that hit. Because why? It's so much fun. Now, is it the most economical way to do it? Nah, definitely not. You're gonna spend, you know, let's say you buy a 2012 Topps wax box, and you're gonna spend $200 plus, maybe $300, and you may, if you're lucky, get $100 or $200 worth of cards out of it if they turn out to be graded high. It's not gonna be something that you're gonna turn a lot of profit on, but man, I mean, how much fun is it ripping these guys open and looking for the hit? I feel bubblegum in here too, it's awesome. So I call it fun collecting, and that's pretty much your average everyday collector who just wants to build a collection, have fun while he's doing it, meet other collectors in the process, talk about the hobby, really get into it. And that's, you know, no real intent of selling. Maybe you're collecting so you can hand it down to your kids, or hand it off to somebody, or give it to somebody, or donate it to somebody when you're done collecting. So really, it's all about having fun in it. And really, all of these things should be about having fun too. This one is just a little bit more fun than the others because you're not as worried about cost and profit margins and things like that. So that is fun collecting. And actually, there really should be an eighth here, and I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm missing. I would call our eighth that I'm gonna add on super secret 8, even though this whole video says top 7, is rookie collecting. And so a lot of people do that, and so I can pull out 2 of the cards that I showed you from others. So that is just like it sounds. It's when you only collect rookie cards of players, and those are obviously always the most valuable. Those are the ones that you can get the biggest return out of, and those are the most desirable. So rookie card collecting should have been our number 8, but I kept it a secret. In case you made it all the way here, you found out what number 8 is. Are there more? Heck yeah, I'm sure there are. But I would say that these are the 7 or 8 different types of collecting. So what I would advise to you is, as you start, if you're a new collector, sit down and think about why you're doing it and pick 1 or 2 or whatever, a couple of these, and stick with it. If your game is collecting for fun, awesome. If you don't care about the cost, great. Then just have fun with it. Maybe do a video like this and share it with everybody. Go on Reddit. Reddit's a great place. I'm gonna do a video on Reddit for baseball card collectors, because that's a place where I spend a lot of my time, and sharing the fun with all of others there too. Watch other people's box breaks. Do box breaks of your own so you can share it. It's so much fun. I mean, go for it. Just pick it, go with it, and just stick with it. Especially on the flip side, if you want to do things like flipping, be disciplined and make sure that you don't start to kind of veer off the path. Because if your main goal is profit, then you don't want to get into it for fun and do things like buying packs and wax boxes and hobby boxes and whatnot. So stick with a goal, achieve it, and go all the way. So those are our top 7, 8 actually, ways of collecting. Thank you guys again for joining. If you got something from this, please let me know. I love when you guys comment. I respond to every single one that I see. Like, comment, subscribe, do it all. I really appreciate it. Thank you again for joining. And don't forget, I'm Parlay J. Take care, spike your hair. We'll see you next time.